Okay. 1 second. Okay. All right, I will call the meeting to order. This is the Wednesday, May 14th meeting of the Hammond Downtown Development District Board of Directors, 4:45 at the Hammond City Council Chambers. Do we have a verification of meeting notice?
Posted 24 hours in advance on our website, DD office, and council chamber door.
Okay, roll call.
Justin Cash.
Here.
Todd DeLon.
Here.
Chance Kinchin. Mary Guito.
Here.
Kayla Morgan. John Exnicius. Hillary Rotchak.
Here. Okay. Does anyone need to amend the agenda? Nope. Okay, if there's no amendments to the agenda, we'll leave it as is. And we've got the consent agenda, minutes from the April 16th meeting, and the April financial statement. I want to take a look at those.
We will need a motion to approve those minutes. We just make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Third.
You want me to do it? Okay. Justin Cash,
Yes.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin, Mary Guito,
Yes?
Kayla Morgan, John Exnicius, Hillary Rotchak. Yes.
Do we need a separate motion for the financial statement?
Yes.
Okay.
This is effective for April. We have 2 more months left of this fiscal year. When we met last, I did note that our property taxes were down a bit. We are getting reissued a check from the sheriff's office for $46,000 and some change. That one got lost in the mail somehow, and they'll be reissuing that check for us. And we might have one more check for a lower amount for our property taxes. But with that in mind, even the $46,000 check will be exceeding what we budgeted for that revenue item. Otherwise, everything else is kind of standard.
Do we have a motion to approve that?
Second.
Justin Cash,
Yes.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin, Mary Guito,
Yes.
Kayla Morgan, John Exnicius, Hillary Rotchak.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to reports. We have the director's report.
We're going to do a little fun thing and time everybody by 2 minutes for reports. Let's see how that works
That's a
out.
good idea.
High points I want to cover are we've made great progress in working with the city. There's been a lot more substantial collaboration on our work order request and other maintenance items. Basically, since you can look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 landscaping and we had a trash can liner work day lined up. So there's been some landscaping improvements and like I said, those trash can liners were done. So we've got some movement on that front. I also send this via email, but I did sit down with Chuck Spangler, who's the city engineer, and delivered those capital outlay request items that we had been discussing related to the area around the pavilion. The budget was introduced last night at the council meeting, and the budget work session will be on May 30th. He indicated that those are in the budget. However, we're following a process. So I'm interested to review the specific allocations and how he put it in there. They did not make the budget available publicly last night, so I'm awaiting for that, like every other member of the public. So we are making inroads, and I think it's all moving in a good direction. Striping update for DOTD. Jason indicated that they would be tentatively scheduling Sunday, June 8th to do the actual striping along 190. He said he would need our help with clearing those parallel spots and a dumpster that's along 190. So once they get that firmed up, we'll be coordinating with the city and Hammond PD to have those closures be approved, and then working with the business owners that would be affected by that. But they usually schedule them on Sunday night into Monday. The directional arrows, railroad crossings, and high visibility crosswalks are preformed thermoplast, which requires a separate process, a heat gun. And I haven't been able to get a really good read on him about that being there being a budget for those preforms, if they have them on site, if that's an additional thing it will have to be an additional thing that needs to be scheduled at least.
So what are they striping if they're not striping?
They're striping the actual street, so they'll be striping the
line.
lines.
Okay.
And I mentioned that, because it's a lot of one-ways, the directional arrows are really necessary.
Yeah.
So today I sent an email to Dalton Williams, with Jason included, and their ADA liaison, Benjamin Tassin, to try to coordinate for our intersection improvements, and the ADA contract that the state has that they've indicated is going on. So between us funneling all of our hopeful transportation needs up to our district office, we're getting some cooperation on that.
Okay.
2 business development items I'd like to just note here. Ribbon cutting on Thursday, tomorrow at 4 p.m. for Grit and it is for 4, right? Yes. It's for 4? Mm-hmm. For Grit and Grace, they're located at 109 West Thomas. And then next week, on the 20th at 5 p.m., there's a ribbon cutting for Monster Mini Golf of Hammond. We actually did a video for Monster Mini Golf. Well, I might talk about it, but it has almost 100,000 views now. People are really excited about Monster Mini Golf, and they had their grand opening last weekend. So if you would like to help support some of our new folks that are opening, those are kind of the more urgent things.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. Staff reports.
I'll do mine really quickly. Basically, things that I've been continuing to work on is loan program. We updated all of our applicant accounts in the USDA links system, and completed all of our compliance stuff for that. We also had some issues with the city holding onto checks, so we have started to implement a thing where every week I now go into the back end to make sure that they're depositing the checks that I brought in for that week. Bricks have been engraved, they have been delivered, and they will be installed this Friday. I sent out an email to everybody who ordered them, updating them. Mary, yours looks really good.
Thank you.
I noticed it when we were unloading them. I'm also working on the walking tour brochure for the tour that will be given on Monday. It should be done by the end of this week. I was working on it a little bit more today. Probably will be done tomorrow. And then as far as merch goes, in the last committee meeting, we agreed that we would not buy any more merch until we have sold some of what we have. And any future merch that we would order, we would do pre-sale before we order, in bulk type deal. And then we're planning on doing a $35 bundle deal with the t-shirts and the tote bags to try and get some of those out of here. And then also we discussed that maybe some people on our board might be willing to help us man a merch table at the market every so often. But we can discuss that later. And then we'll be sending out another merchant newsletter tomorrow discussing some of our event dates. Darren and I are going to call some restaurants and see who's willing to, if anybody's willing to provide food for Hammond Live, or at least be included in our rack card that we discussed previously at the events committee meeting. And then other than that, just interns, and whenever I get back from vacation after next week, I'll be working on the Hot August applications and launch prep stuff. So that's what I got.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dara?
All right, moving on to mine, the content events report. We'll go through the Facebook and Instagram top posts. Lighthouse did really good on Facebook and Instagram. Shockingly, the NOLA lettering design on the building did really well. National Walking Day did good. And Amtrak, we just shared a simple thing from Amtrak announcing their new routes. That did really good as well. Weekend roundups will always continue to be super popular. Terry Adams did great on Instagram, so that's really exciting for September. And also the Senator Kennedy visit did good on Instagram as well. Moving on to MailChimp, we're down 5 subscribers from last month, which is kind of par for the course. And after talking with Kayla, our open rates are actually what they should look like for MailChimp. So that's actually really exciting to hear. And once again, the Lighthouse newsletter did really good. Moving on from there, we have our same top cities viewing our website, but it's super exciting to know that people in the big cities like Baton Rouge and New Orleans are interested in what is happening in little old Hammond. Our keywords for the website, the Lighthouse is still on there. I think it's going to take a little bit for Google to catch up with like our metrics and realize that Lighthouse does in fact have their own information out there. Barbara Tallow is up there right now, and it's because the Real ID is becoming really big and people are starting to get it, and we pop up for Barbara Tallow. So if you
People will
guys-
call us. They were calling us.
Yes, and they get confused when you answer and you say Hammond DDD. They're like, DMV? No.
I need my ID.
Oh, that's
Yes,
funny.
so hopefully that will get fixed through Google itself. Our visits are looking pretty good and pretty standard in our top pages. Once again, Lighthouse is on there, but as we can see, the Farmers Market page is getting a lot of views. So is the Road Home and naturally Barbara Tallow. From there, you can see the Tangy Lifestyle ad that I created. I think it looks pretty good. I also made one for the passport. And you can see our updated Hot August stroll save the dates. If you didn't see it on social media, I think Ashley Barato from our marketing committee did a great job on the new design and making it match our current. And then scrolling down, you'll see the stuff for Hammond Live, which is June 13th and July 18th. I hope to see y'all out there drinking some beers and laying on the grass listening to some good music.
Which, by the way, we did go before the council yesterday to get that, and it was a little contentious.
Really?
Yes, it barely passed.
Why was it contentious?
Well, there was discussion about the city's, I guess, approval of allowing people to sell in the parks. And I basically just stated that we're following the city's process as we understand it. And so I kind of deferred to the administration to answer the council's questions on that. But we had a 3-vote that passed, but we had 2 council members that abstained. So we got what we needed. The mayor also expressed on public record that he would not support having alcohol sold at the event, just from his perspective how things are going. But I did just state on the record that we did adjust the time to be 8 p.m. For all of our events, in discussion with Chief Bergeron. So ultimately, we did get what we needed for Hammond Live, and we also got our resolution for Hot August Stroll. We were on the agenda for the Pavilion grand opening, but requested to table that resolution for a couple of reasons. One of them being that substantial completion has been pushed back, and it probably there won't be a clear lien until August, more than likely. And then lastly, the city of Hammond would like to host the grand opening of that. So we kind of have to go back to the drawing board a little bit on that coordination. But either way, just wanted to update you on that since that happened last night. You can look at all of it on the recording, and you'll see me at the podium actually holding Ellis because I had some childcare problems, and he was with me. So it was quite an eventful time.
Comes with the turf, I suppose.
Just FYI, I just want to interject. I mentioned to one of y'all, and I can't remember, for Hot August, if you needed a band. And I'd mentioned the Iceman special, and I reached out to them because they're from my hometown. And then the manager never got back with me. But apparently they played at Narfest. So if anyone's, I don't know if anyone's interested, they're very well known. And they played here this weekend. So you might want to just make that connection if you need a band. So.
Thank you, Mary. That's
Clearly, I don't have enough pull because the guy didn't call me back, but, you know. Okay. All right, thank you for that report. Marketing committee is Kayla.
Yeah, she is not here today, but Dara kind of covered mostly everything in her report. Two big things that we're looking at are systems related to our marketing, so our CRM software, and looking at our search engine optimization for our new site. We are also exploring a partnership with Antoine Marketing where they would help us do, we would not pay them. It would be a partnership where they would assist us with some of the digital ad management, which our staff, we're not marketing professionals, so we do need some more like hands-on assistance with that. So Kayla and I had a great meeting with Jessica over at Antoine, and they would help with some of our destination marketing pieces, because as we kind of stand in our staff capacity, Dara does a great job at, keeping up with our social content, our blog content, but some of this campaign development for destination marketing, and actually paying for ad space, we need a little bit more assistance in. So we are exploring that, and we'll be able to report back on that progress as we move forward.
Okay, great. Design committee, that's me. So we had a good meeting, our last meeting. The biggest thing we've been talking about lately is looking at the Unified Development Code, the UDC, to try to streamline that and make some of these policies and procedures a little more clear so that people who are trying to build and renovate actually follow the rules. It's a little unclear what the rules are. And so we had a workshop, and then we had our meeting, and what we decided in the workshop was we really need to hire an attorney to assist with rewriting that. It's basically like bylaws. So we need to hire an attorney, and a guy was recommended who's worked on building codes and things like that.
Yes, he's a planner, an urban planner, but he's very familiar with development codes. So he's not an attorney, but he does have a lot of that like technical, like text amendment kind of background. Stephen Veloso, I believe so I say his last name. He actually worked with this Villavasso. There you go.
Yeah.
He actually worked on the city's master plan in 2012, 2011, whenever that was done. So he's coming. Mary will be there, and Jeffrey will be there. But he's coming to Hammond sometime in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be taking.
On my calendar?
It is. It should be. Yes.
That's fine.
I can't remember what date it is, but
That's fine. Oh yes, it is.
But yes, they are. They've been working with other communities to formalize their development codes. So a lot of the revisions that we want to see within the Design Reviews Authority, and exploring some of these avenues to have just a stronger development code within our district. I think that would be advantageous. We have like a laundry list, but we need some best recommendations.
Right, and so we needed someone with experience we sat there and looked at it for 5 meetings in a row, and we just, we need someone with experience in writing those types of things, so. And there's money in the budget for that, so we're getting a proposal from him to do that. So that was the biggest thing, and then of course, just looking through, the design work and post work and things that are following the rules and aren't following the rules. And all that goes back to people following the policies and procedures and understanding them. And so, but that is where we are for the design committee. So moving on to events.
All right, so as you can see, Hammond Live is launched. That was a good part. We've been working on that for a while. We also have the sponsorships underway. We've got that working on trying to get some of those to help supplement some of the budget for not only Hammond Live, but also Hot August Night, or Hot August. We had several new committee members. We accepted, how many, do you remember who it was?
It's like total of 4, I think.
Four or five, something like that. So we didn't have a quorum, so we spent a bulk of our time welcoming them and going over what their role would be and where they thought that they could, input the most and do the most good. So that was a bulk of what we went over, and we really just kind of discussed how, now that we have Hammond Live launched and we've got those new committee members on there, how can we utilize them to focus to Hot August? And that's where our focus is shifting to heavily get that ready to roll.
Which, on that front, Devin has actually been in touch with us about sponsorships.
Has she?
Got us
Good.
one, so.
Yeah, she's going to be great.
We do have a $28,000 fundraising goal for this
Yes.
fiscal year.
Right, but I do have a question. In our last meeting, when we were looking at the budget and we were talking about the budgeted money for those events, and Chance or someone made a comment like, do we need to double the money we're spending on events? Could we use some of that to help with some of these sidewalk improvements or some of these other
We
things?
did allocate, we did increase our sidewalk balance, so we budgeted 30,000. We increased that to 75,000.
Okay,
So if you look specifically at the event breakdown, then you can kind of look more in the details about that.
okay,
But all in all, I'll pull it up here. So we basically have the events budget broken down like this. It has all the expenditures and revenue for each event listed. So that's where those numbers in our budget come from, are all of these spreadsheet breakdowns.
okay,
And so specifically with our events, we have a separate revenue item for our events, and then we have a separate expense account. So that basically has those numbers come from this sheet here.
okay.
This actually maybe not updated, because I've been working in a couple different spreadsheets since I have to send it to the city and stuff. So this is actually not the updated budget, but these breakdowns are. Apologies about that. But the budget that you approved, here.
There it is.
So this is the budget that was approved. Like I said, this is our event revenue account, and then this is our event expense account. So, yeah, I mean,
Yep.
the budgeting on everything, it's like there's different inputs that kind of come into play, but specific to our events, in order for those events to basically take place, that's where the fundraising goal kind of comes into play, and that's leveraged through the sponsorships for events. And then we're also looking at an additional grant application for Hammond Live.
Okay,
So yeah.
all right, thanks. Anything else, Hillary, on events? Okay, farmer's market, that's John. Anybody have anything to report on that?
Let me look at the agenda really quickly. I was not there at the meeting. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get back to it. Let's see. I did go over this with Savannah though. So the farmer's market, this has been the second Wednesday. There's actually a market happening right now in River Park. So last week was kind of rained out a little bit, so not today is better weather, and there's been a little bit of steady foot traffic. Savannah is doing a customer count to see how it goes. And they'll be set up again for the next 2 Wednesdays in May from 3 to 6. So this is a trial run for a midweek market. However, since that time, which we'll discuss, Savannah has resigned from the position. Her last day will be on June 9th. So capacity is changing for us. So the feasibility of this being continued is dependent upon our ability to do that. And it's probably not going to reign too much as a high priority because we are without a manager. Obviously, that wasn't discussed at this meeting, but that's kind of real-time update on that. A pavilion site visit has been scheduled for this Friday at 3:30 with the contractor and the architect so that the vendors can look at the space and start kind of thinking a little bit more about, us really having bigger conversations about the market moving down there. What does that look like? Logistically, coordinating all those pieces. So that'll be a good opportunity to put our hands and eyes on it.
Okay.
And then otherwise, there's just some guideline revisions here. And I mean, that's kind of basically it for that. Really, I think the biggest things are, everyone's talking about the potential of the market moving. And so that's been something that's been discussed at every meeting.
Okay, thank you. Merchant Committee, Chance.
Merchants Committee, we did not have a meeting. Our schedule got a little, we had our meeting right before the last meeting, and this one's coming up next week, so we did not have one. But, some people are looking forward to the one next week.
Okay, great. Residential Committee.
And we only meet every other month, so we meet in June. But I'm really excited to see some of the progress that we've made in the city because they keep bringing those same topics up to us every week, like trash can liners and trees being planted. Striping is one that we still have to work on, and I've been working with the chief of police in the background trying to get his feedback as well and his participation. My understanding on that one, and I'll close after this, is that they're trying to determine, I'm assuming that's the city, and Michelle, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, they're trying to coordinate with DOT and figure out if we can use paint instead of the applique type things for the crosswalks. I don't think they have enough appliques to do all of the ones that were requested, so they're asking if they can use a paint instead. Am I wrong on that?
So when I talked to Jason, who's the striping guy at DOTD, the paint lasts about 6 months. So the thermoplast, and I think that's where leveraging and coordination kind of comes into play. If the cost for that is a barrier, or phasing that implementation, like, it needs to be discussed. So I would like to, I guess, know. And I requested this information from Dalton to say, are the ones that they have already called for? How do they budget for additional ones? How do we get into that queue of getting those pieces? Because that's really what's needed. Those high visibility crosswalks, 2 years ago, the DOTD contact we had there, I believe she's still there, Christine, mentioned that the city actually did those. They paid for them and they actually installed them, because she had mentioned that DOTD does not install those high visibility crosswalks. So if the plan is to do painting instead of the thermoplast, I mean, I think that that's a good short-term strategy, but we definitely would want to know, have an idea in budgeting for those more long-term pieces, because the last time that all of that was really put down was in 2014, and you can kind of see, I mean, it lasted about 7 years with the thermoplast. So, there's no interest of the city really to improve a state roadway, but if there is an appetite to try to produce a safe environment for our pedestrians, then trying to coordinate the budget item with our district office, the city, and us, that can potentially be a discussion. And also seeing, with Nikki Muscarello, that was kind of mentioned from Jason, because that's ultimately where the funding kind of funnels down from, is from our state office. And if there are additional needs there, it would be worth having a conversation in that way too, because they're not cheap. To do the actual striping, thermoplast takes a special piece of equipment. To do these directional signs and the high visibility crosswalks, they can do that with a heat gun, which is easier for them to do in-house than to contract it out. But those are that's the project planning behind something like this. So the more that every entity is on the same page, the clearer the trajectory is.
Very good.
Okay.
And many thanks for your persistence in getting all of those other projects addressed for the residents. They will be very happy. So.
Okay, good deal. We're glad for that.
Thank you. All right, so we have no old business. I'm moving on to new business. First item is discussion of the safety plan for DDD events.
So I added this on there because we've had a lot of discussion around safety of our outdoor events with what had happened at Strawberry Festival this year. And Chance actually called me before I put the agenda out with some feedback from Cinco de Mayo. So I don't know, Chance, if you want to.
I mean, this is kind of something that we have discussed in the past, but it's becoming a sense of urgency for not just me, but for the outlook of our community. Especially, it's not just becoming DDD events, it's just becoming in general. And I know a lot of it falls on enforcing rules and things like that. But the question that I want to put out there is, so how long are we going to continue to talk about this? Are we going to just wait for something to happen? So are we going to be proactive or are we going to be reactive? Because it's just a matter of time. And we already see things going on in the news anyway, as terrible as it is. But it's going to, everything that we have worked for to build the downtown is all going to go out the window just like that for one incident. And it's not just DDD sponsored events. And even if it is a DDD sponsored event, it's happening after the fact. So what are we gonna do? And it's really, a lot of it's starting to fall on business owners. I mean, my alarm has been set off 3 times in the past 10 days from just people not being where they're supposed to be. They're just in businesses up to no good. And I just, what do we have to do as a board? If we're gonna be the DDD board, then what do we have to do to enforce some of these rules? People are having unpermitted parties. It's creating distractions for business owners, you know, that are trying to run their business. And they're dealing with the overflow of people that are not permitted to have events, trying to use their space. Like, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I'm normally open on Tuesday nights. Unless the police force is gonna give me 2 police officers to work my corner, I gotta close next year for Cinco de Mayo, because I'm gonna shoot somebody.
We just said that on public record.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna, I gotta keep my people.
The bird.
I mean, I'm being hypothetical, but
Right,
it's just not a safe environment. I was called at 9 o'clock on Monday night,
This is the night of Cinco de Mayo.
night of Cinco de Mayo, because people were wanting to know if my restaurant was okay, but also because they had to get into the right lane to travel down Morris Avenue, because the street was blocked from people. So that is against, as a business owner, business owners need to be held accountable. If you don't have a patio area or a permit to operate that space, it needs to be shut down. They need to be inside the business. If it's over, the fire marshal maybe needs to get involved. If it's too many people, shut it down. But how long are we gonna allow this to happen? Are we gonna wait for something terrible to happen before we act on it? And then people are gonna think we have an unsafe downtown community to walk around, and it starts affecting everybody's business all the time.
So, I mean, isn't that the city police jurisdiction? Who would enforce that,
There-
other than the fire marshal?
Don't worry, I've already called all of them.
Okay, and what do they say?
Well, the mayor has said he's instructed the police chief to start arresting people. That's not gonna be the long-term solution. How long you gonna hold them for?
Right.
What you gonna charge them with? You're just gonna charge them with a fine that they can't pay, and then they're gonna have a warrant, and then they're gonna be right back out. The bottom line is, the business owners need to be held responsible. If they don't have, if you have a business, get them inside your business. If not, they need to leave. Do we need to figure, like, what ordinances are in place where fines need to be laid down? You know, if you're having an unpermitted party, if you're not a restaurant, bar, whatever it is, and you're just having a block party that's affecting other businesses, fines need to be laid down. It needs to be shut down. But I'm trying to be proactive instead of being on the news.
Right.
Yeah, I got into town on Monday and I was walking my son and I went to the gas station. I was like, why are there so many people out? And I forgot that it was Cinco de Mayo. So there were a lot of people and I was like, I'm going to go home as soon as I can because there was too many. There's a couple of layers to this. One is usually people are congregating outside the businesses with alcohol in their hand. They should not be allowed to leave the premise of the building with alcohol unless there is an open container waiver granted for their establishment or for downtown. So I think there's already rules in place that should be enforced that I think would address this issue. The challenge is that the appetite to do that, and from an enforcement perspective for our police is, and I don't know, I haven't spoken to, what did Chief Bergeron say about, the response to Monday?
He gets it, but it's random. Get out, you gotta get out, and then they just come in.
Yeah, Cinco's evolved into something that's way bigger than it probably should be.
It's
But
not just
I think
Cinco.
we don't have any mitigation measures in place to keep people off the streets, like barricades, like we do for Hot August Night. So maybe that's a discussion we should have with Chief.
Yeah.
And maybe the
It might also mean
Well,
between,
But it's evolving into not just that. I mean,
It's chaotic.
the Friday
actually,
night prior to, there was a big event down here, there was a big event behind me, and it was amazing because I had to go and get video footage to submit to the police department. It was amazing to watch while I was trying to find specific incident because my window was knocked out. But it was amazing to see how much trouble is just hanging around for no purpose.
And what time of day is it? Like, what time of the night is
Well,
it?
this is
Monday.
12:30, 1 o'clock to 1:30 in the morning. I mean, I watch like an hour and a half.
Right.
video footage. But there's a broad spectrum of people doing nothing except
loitering.
loitering, just up to no good. And then eventually a fight broke out. My window got knocked out. Multiple police were on the scene rather quickly. But I'm just trying to, we've talked about this since the Hot August Night last year. And still, we're still at the same conversation.
Well, so for Hot August, we will be barricading 190 on both sides. So Thomas will be barricaded. Morris by Truth will be barricaded. Kate, those 2 blocks of Kate Street will be closed. Your block of Kate Street more than likely won't be closed. So there will be more parking closures and street closures for crowd control. I think where we're at is to say, basically requesting to Hammond PD, what is the standard to prepare for events in downtown, whether it be our sponsored event, something like Cinco, something like, the bar crowd on Thursday, Friday. It might just be an open conversation about that to see, what do business owners see, what does Hammond PD see, and what does the community see, so that we can kind of all get on the same page about it. On our side of things, it's kind of a challenge for us we can make a request.
Right. And I had that conversation, and there's a lot of responsibility to be had, but business owners just see, not every business owner is gonna be responsible. All they see is dollars, even though there's maybe not dollars even being spent inside their business. It's just a accumulation.
But
of
can we agree to request a meeting with the mayor and the chief of police to discuss the possibility of some sort of mitigation for crowds at these unsponsored DDD events? Would that be okay if we
Or
did?
even
that?
outside of events too, because it sounds like it's happening
yeah,
just
I
on a
would-
Tuesday.
Yeah,
or
Sundays too,
something.
Sundays are crazy.
Sundays are
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's happening all the time.
That's what I'm saying. It's not
And it's just.
necessarily tied to an event.
And like the DD, like we spoke about this back last year. So the DDD event ended at 9 or whatever it was.
Right,
Well, the trouble don't happen until later, but it's still gonna be associated with it
right.
when it's a DDD sponsored event, but now it's happening more frequently. Like last Monday was not a DDD event, but it's in
It's in the DDD.
I called everybody. I called everybody because it's a legit concern.
Did Chief Bergeron indicate what he needs to?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Just like other than talking to the mayor, but arresting people, you can't arrest 45 people or 95 people, whatever it may be at that time, for nothing. You can arrest them for
Loitering.
loitering or trespassing or give them a ticket, but that's not gonna solve the issue. It's one bad incident away from something happening.
So can we request that meeting? Who would request the meeting?
I can.
Yeah, it probably makes the most sense to
Okay.
have come from you.
Who wants to attend?
I guess I should.
And have Hillary attend as well.
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can if you need me to, but I don't need to if you have enough people, so.
Yeah, you put that in the minutes. I'll definitely, I'll request that
Okay, thank
the
you.
next coming week.
All right, is that all we're discussing on safety plan? Okay, next item is the discussion of advertisement for the part-time farmer's market manager position.
So as mentioned, Savannah has resigned, and we would like to move forward with advertising for her position. It is part-time, 25 hours per week. This is the job description. Really just looking for some feedback on the starting rate.
Is that what she was being paid now?
She is paid more than that now because she's been with us for
Okay, that's
about a year, or a little over a year, since 2023, almost 2 years.
I mean, I think this is fine. Is the job description
That seems reasonable.
similar to what it was before?
It's the same that was
It's the
before.
same
I
one, and it's
updated a
just the
couple
rate.
of things, because we've had guideline revisions since then.
Mhm.
Because she graduated or?
She graduated in December, and she's actually, over the next 2 weeks, she'll be at an artist residency program. So she's kind of pursuing some of her passions.
She's a nice kid.
Yes, so knew the time would come.
Yeah.
Didn't know it would be now, but yeah.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we approve advertisement for the part-time farmer's market manager position as submitted.
Second.
Justin Cash. Yes. Todd DeLon.
Yes.
Chance Kinchin. Mary Gito.
Yes.
Kayla Morgan. John Exnicious. Hillary Rochek.
Yes.
Do we have any public comment before we move on to the next item? Hi.
Hello.
Denise Austin, I'm at 47442 Monticello, farmer's market vendor. The only thing I'd like to say is, although it's billed as a part-time position, it really is a full-time position.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
It's a lot of work. So just put that in the mix there.
Do you know anyone interested? Thought I'd throw that out there.
If you just would consider that,
Thank
that'd
you.
be great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so would we like to call an executive session for the next employee performance reviews? How do we do that? I forget. Do we have to-
Make a motion for executive session.
Can I make a motion?
Mhm.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we call executive session for the next 2 agenda items.
Sorry, I'm not typing fast enough. Okay. Justin Cash.
Yes.
Todd DeLon.
Yes.
Chance Kinchin. Mary Gito.
Yes.
Kayla Morgan. John Exnicious. Hillary Rochek.
Yes.
See you in a minute.